Have you ever felt tired in a way that no amount of sleep can fix? Not the kind of tired that comes from doing too much, but from carrying too much. The noise in your mind, the pressure to perform, the endless stream of obligations that pull you away from yourself. You smile, you nod, you keep going, but deep down, something feels off. That quiet heaviness is not weakness. It is a signal, a sign that your life may be running on habits that slowly wear down your clarity, your peace, and your strength. The Stoics warned us of this drift. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or rather, do only what is essential, and do it with care." This is not a call for more hustle, it is a return to stillness. In this video, we will explore 9 subtle patterns that may be silently draining your power. You might not even notice them, but once you do, everything can begin to shift. If something in you is ready to remember what calm feels like, stay with me. This might be the beginning of that return, and if the message speaks to you, feel free to subscribe. No pressure, just presence. 1. Escape survival mode. There are mornings that do not feel like the beginning of a purposeful day. Instead, they feel like a battlefield. Before your feet even touch the ground, you are already running. The phone lights up with someone else's urgency. Your thoughts race. The demands pile up. And without realizing it, you're not living. You're surviving, you're reacting, you're sprinting through noise, through opinions, through expectations. But motion is not meaning, and exhaustion is not progress. The Stoics warned us that a life lived in constant reactivity is a life surrendered. It is a quiet erosion of the self. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the inner citadel, the unshakable part of the soul, untouched by fortune, praise, or insult. That citadel lives in you, not as a prize to be earned, but as a strength to be remembered. Yet every time you let a stranger's complaint ruin your morning, every time you let your inbox determine your worth, you forget. You hand over the keys to that sacred inner space. And for what? For the illusion of urgency. Socrates once said, "To find yourself, think for yourself." But how can you think for yourself when your attention belongs to everyone but you? Modern life is built to scatter you. Every alert, every headline, every interruption is designed to pull you outward. Your nervous system is trained for chaos. But Stoicism invites you to do something revolutionary. Do nothing, to not react, to pause. Imagine your mind as a still lake. Every distraction is a stone, but you are not the splash. You are the stillness beneath it. Carl Jung once wrote that your vision becomes clear when you look within. The Stoics knew this long before. Clarity does not come from reacting to the world. It comes from responding with character. Plato described the soul as made of reason, spirit, and appetite. When you live unconsciously, appetite dominates, impulse wins. But when you stop, when you breathe before speaking, when you hold your tongue instead of lashing out, reason takes its rightful place at the front. It takes no strength to panic, no power to blame. Anyone can react, but it takes wisdom to wait. It takes discipline to listen. It takes inner mastery to remain unmoved. The Stoics did not preach indifference. They taught strength. They did not tell you to feel nothing. They taught you to feel deeply and still not be controlled. In a world that worships urgency, your peace is rebellion. Your stillness is power. And every time you choose not to chase, but to center yourself, you reclaim the life you were always meant to live. 2. Break mental loops. It is startling how quietly the habit of expecting the worst seeps into our thinking. One disappointment is all it takes. Someone betrays your trust. A plan collapses. A dream fades. And slowly, a silent conclusion begins to form beneath the surface. that life cannot be trusted, that happiness is temporary, that nothing good lasts, without even realizing it. You start living from a place of quiet defeat, not because the world has changed, but because your lens has. What was once a single setback becomes a world view. And before long, you are not simply thinking negatively, you are defaulting to it. That is the danger, not in the thought itself, but in the frequency and the familiarity of it. When your first instinct is to brace for pain, you begin to miss peace, not because it is absent, but because you no longer believe it can stay. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." This is not metaphor, it is law. Think dark thoughts long enough, and even the brightest moments begin to feel dim. The mind is not a mirror, it is a canvas. What you focus on does not merely reflect your reality, it creates it. Aristotle taught that we are what we repeatedly do, but the Stoics would add, we become what we repeatedly believe. If you believe the storm is always coming, your life will start to feel like a shelter. If you expect betrayal, you will question every act of kindness. How can you open your hands to receive if they are always clenched, bracing for impact? Let us destroy the illusion. Being negative is not a mark of realism. It is a symptom of emotional fatigue. It narrows the field of vision. It blinds you to joy. It locks the door on connection. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That whisper that says you are not wanted, that this will never work out, that is not truth. That is programming, and you can change it. Plato reminded us that wisdom begins by admitting how little we know. That includes our assumptions. What if this time is different? What if your mind has been protecting you from a pain that no longer exists? The brain is built for survival, not peace. It looks for threat, not truth. That is why Stoicism teaches us to question the voice within, to pause, to ask, is this thought useful? Is it even real? Or is it just the echo of an old wound that no longer belongs in the present? 3. End the delay. There is a strange and dangerous comfort we find in delay. We quietly tell ourselves that tomorrow holds the key. Tomorrow is when we will become better. Tomorrow we will wake up early, start the discipline, confront the fear, chase the dream. And so, tomorrow becomes our favorite hiding place. It becomes the closet where we stuff all our avoided intentions, hoping the door holds shut. But then the weight builds, and we wonder why we feel so overwhelmed, so scattered, so far from the life we say we want. Here is the truth we avoid. Tomorrow is not real. It is a soft illusion we wrap around the hard reality that we are afraid to begin today. Marcus Aurelius saw this clearly. He wrote, "You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow." That line is sharp because it cuts through every excuse we make. Deep down, we know we could start now. We could write the message, take the walk, make the call, but instead we scroll, we distract, we delay. And then we complain about why our life feels stuck. Carl Jung once said, procrastination is the thief of time. But the Stoics would go further. It is also the thief of identity. Every moment you delay action, you reinforce a version of yourself that avoids discomfort and betrays your own potential. And what you lose is not just time. You lose a version of yourself that could have been courageous, disciplined, fulfilled. The Stoics were blunt about time. They saw it not as something you possess, but something you borrow. Epictetus warned, "While you delay, life speeds on." This is not meant to depress you. It is meant to awaken you. Time is sacred because it is slipping through your hands with every passing moment. Imagine if you carried a backpack full of golden hours, each one a shining piece of your life, and someone reached in every day, taking a handful without asking. How long before you started guarding that bag? How long before you stopped handing it out to doubt, distraction, delay? Socrates cautioned against the barrenness of a busy life. We think we are moving, but we are just circling. We fill our schedules, but we starve our soul. There is a difference between movement and meaning. The answer is not more time, it is more decisions. One clear choice today. Start the thing you keep postponing, not because you are ready, but because you are tired of waiting, as Plato said. Discipline is the bridge between desire and fulfillment. Your future is not shaped by dreams. It is built by what you begin, what you stay with, and what you finish. Start now. 4. Choose with courage. There is a particular kind of fatigue that doesn't come from overwork, but from lingering in indecision. It's not the doing that drains you, it is the constant circling, the revisiting, the endless conversations in your mind. You weigh every angle, consult every voice, rehearse every outcome, but nothing moves. Days pass, weeks blur, and the decision still hangs there, untouched. The Stoics warned us clearly about this paralysis. Seneca wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, and nothing wastes time more quietly than indecision. It disguises itself as caution, as thoughtfulness, but really, it is where potential quietly suffocates. Every time you say you will decide later, the life you could have lived moves one step further away. Not because you are incapable, but because you did not act. Aristotle once said, "Choice, not chance, determines your destiny." Thought is useful. Planning has value. But nothing transforms your life like a decision made with courage. The longer you stand at the crossroads, the more the ground turns to quicksand. The opportunity fades, the energy drains, and soon, what once was a moment of possibility becomes a memory of regret. Think back. How many times have you whispered to yourself that you would choose soon, only to watch the moment vanish? Maybe it was a career path, a relationship, a moment to speak up. And the cost was not just a missed chance, but a piece of your own confidence. Because you begin to doubt not the decision, but your ability to make one. And yet here is the deeper truth. Even the wrong decision moves you forward. Even a stumble teaches you something. But standing still teaches you nothing. It only anchors you to fear. Carl Jung once observed that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely and often. That is what we are avoiding when we hesitate. We are not afraid of the outcome. We are afraid of owning it, of having no one else to point to when things get difficult. But the Stoics remind us, responsibility is not a burden, it is a gift. It means you are free, free to act, free to correct, free to grow. So choose, not recklessly, but bravely, even if it is messy, even if it is uncertain. Forward is the only direction where anything ever happens, and you are more ready than you think. 5. Protect your time. It is easy to forget that just because the world can reach you at any time does not mean it should, somewhere along the way. We began treating our phones like emergency hotlines, our inboxes like military command posts, and ourselves like on-call customer service reps who never shut down. Every ping, every red dot, every unread message might look small on its own, but together they form a constant drip of noise that erodes your peace, one reply at a time. You give away pieces of your presence until what is left feels thin, scattered, burned out. Not because you are doing too much, but because you are too available. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less." In our modern world, Doing less starts with choosing to be less accessible. It means realizing that not every message deserves an instant response. Not every request is your responsibility. We confuse constant availability with dependability. But in truth, it often leads to distraction, not trust. A reliable person is not the one who answers everything. It is the one who stays focused on what truly matters. You cannot think clearly when your attention is divided. You cannot create depth when you are always on alert. Life is not meant to be lived with an open-door policy to your inner world. Carl Jung said that solitude is where one discovers one is not alone. And solitude does not require isolation. It requires intention. It means carving out space to think, to breathe, to remember who you are beneath the noise. That inner voice, the one that knows what really matters, cannot be heard when you are replying out of guilt or scrolling out of habit. Plato once described the soul as a chariot pulled in opposite directions by wild horses. That is modern life. Everyone pulling at your time, your energy, your mind. But the question remains, who is holding the reins? If you are not directing your focus, someone else will. And that is why boundaries are not selfish, they are necessary. Epictetus said we must discipline ourselves in small things first. So begin small. Say no once, mute one thread. Create space, not for silence, but for strength. You are not a search engine. You are not a machine. You are a person with a limited reservoir of attention and a life that deserves to be lived fully. So protect your time like it matters, because it does, and no one else will protect it for you. 6. Move with intention. There is an invisible pressure that surrounds us every day. It tells us to hurry, to chase more, to be everywhere at once. If you are not grinding, you are falling behind. If you are not hustling, you are wasting your potential. That is the message whispered in every corner of modern life. But here is the question almost no one dares to ask. Where are you actually going? And why are you in such a rush to get there? The Stoics were never enemies of effort. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Epictetus taught through physical pain and hardship. These were not idle men, but they were deliberate. They believed in purposeful movement, in knowing not only what you are doing, but why you are doing it. Seneca said it with clarity. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. And that waste often happens when motion becomes mindless, when speed replaces strategy, when you move so fast that you lose the power to be present. You forget what drew you to your path in the first place. You chase momentum, not meaning, and eventually, hustle becomes habit, not growth. One day, you wake up and realize you have been sprinting in circles, busy but lost, exhausted but empty. Aristotle reminded us that virtue lies in balance, not in excess. When ambition turns into obsession, when action becomes reaction, you are no longer designing a life, you are just dodging the fear of stillness. But stillness is not the enemy. It is often the birthplace of wisdom. Carl Jung once said that hurry is not of the devil, it is the devil. The constant rush we feel is not a sign of purpose, it is a thief. It steals our clarity, our joy, our ability to make meaningful decisions. When you're always rushing, you lose your grip on direction. You are not steering the ship, you are just trying not to sink. Plato taught that a good life depends on knowing what is truly valuable and refusing to trade it for cheap imitations. Hustle without purpose is one of those imitations. It mimics growth, but it often hides avoidance. So ask yourself, what am I chasing? And is it worth the cost? Are you climbing a ladder that leans against the wrong wall? Are you filling your schedule just to avoid sitting alone with your own thoughts? The Stoics would tell you to slow down, not to stop, but to reflect. To choose your steps with intention, because life is not measured by how fast you move. It is defined by whether you are moving towards something real. 7. Release the grudge. There is something strangely human about how we cling to pain. We hold on to it as if it validates our story, as if the ache is proof that what happened mattered, that we mattered, and over time, that pain can harden into a grudge, a small, bitter flame we keep alive inside our chest, believing it makes us stronger. But the truth is, it does not empower us, it empties us. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." That is not just a call for dignity, it is a call for freedom. Do not let someone else's actions take up permanent space in your heart. Do not allow their cruelty to echo endlessly in your mind, because that is what grudges do. They become self-inflicted wounds that never close. Aristotle observed that anyone can be angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, in the right way, for the right purpose and time, that is rare. Most of us do not do this. We just store it. Anger becomes our default. Bitterness becomes the armor we wear, and soon we stop being defined by who we are and instead become defined by what has hurt us. That is a heavy identity to carry. Carl Jung put it clearly, what you resist persists. The more you push the pain down, the more it controls you, the more you replay the betrayal, the more power it has. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not about letting others off the hook. It is about releasing yourself. It is saying, I am done letting this memory shadow every step I take. And here is something most people overlook. The person who wounded you might not even remember what they did. They have moved on. They are living their life. But you are still carrying the weight, dragging it like a heavy bag stitched with their name into your conversations, into your sleep, into new relationships that never even asked for it. That is what the Stoics call wasted energy. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is more harmful to us than the injury that provoked it, because resentment does not stay in the past. It lives in your posture, your breath, your words, your energy. It affects how you show up in the world. Let it go, not because it did not matter, but because it should not define you anymore. Clear that space within you. Make room for something stronger than revenge. Make room for peace. And know this, you are not weak for releasing it. You are strong enough to stop carrying what was never yours to hold forever." 8. Guard your mind. There is a quiet war happening all around you, not with weapons, but with attention. Your mind is the battlefield, and every headline, every notification, every sarcastic comment online is trying to claim a part of it. If you are not vigilant, you begin to give it away. Not just your minutes, but your focus. Not just your screen time, but your peace. One moment you are calm, enjoying your morning. The next, you have scrolled through outrage, absorbed anger from people you do not know, and now carry tension that was never yours to begin with. That is not harmless distraction. That is emotional manipulation, even more dangerously. It does not only come from strangers. Sometimes the noise comes from those closest to you. Family members, friends, people who stir drama, invite chaos, feed fear. The Stoics had a response to this. They called it apatheia. Not to be confused with apathy, it is not the absence of care. It is the presence of control. It is the ability to remain grounded in the middle of emotional storms, to be rooted in your own principles rather than pulled by someone else's chaos. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength in a world that thrives on your outrage. That strength is rare. Socrates also warned against being ruled by public opinion. He believed in living from within, guided by reason and virtue, not by noise and reaction. Yet today, the noise is louder than ever. It is in your phone, in your feed, in your habits, and every time you react without reflection, you surrender a part of your inner freedom. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious. It will rule your life, and you will call it fate. Do not let algorithms mold your mood or let validation define your worth. The Stoic path is simple. Remain still in a world that wants you shaken. That is where your true power lives. 9. Choose your circle. Some people leave you feeling heavier, not because they yell or criticize, but simply because their presence quietly drains more than it gives. You finish a conversation with them and feel like your energy has been siphoned away. And yet, many of us still keep those people close. Why? Out of habit, out of politeness, out of fear of being alone. But the truth is, not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone belongs in the inner circle of your life. Trust is not something you owe. It is something earned with consistency, respect, and alignment. The Stoics understood this deeply. To them, true friendship was sacred and rare. Seneca warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Not those who make you louder or flashier, but better." Carl Jung echoed this with his reminder that when two personalities meet, both are transformed. So the real question is, what are you being transformed into? Do the people around you help you become more grounded, more disciplined, more at peace? Or do they leave you anxious, unfocused, and uncertain? Plato taught that the soul is shaped by the company it keeps. Not just in values, but in energy. When you are surrounded by chaos, you begin to live in reaction. When you are constantly explaining yourself or shrinking to fit someone else's comfort, your spirit slowly erodes. That is why boundaries are not selfish. They are wise. You would never leave your front door wide open at night. So why leave your mind and heart exposed to anyone who smiles and speaks well? Socrates believed the unexamined life was not worth living. That includes examining your relationships. Who gets your vulnerability? Your dreams? Your presence? Are they worthy of it, or just familiar? Choose with clarity, because who you allow near you helps shape who you become. And in many ways, your future depends on it. No one moves through life more freely than the one who has released what was never theirs to carry. True peace does not wait at the finish line of achievement. It lives in the quiet that follows surrender. And the moment you stop holding on to what drains you is the moment you begin to return to who you truly are. If this message touched something in you, take a breath. Leave a comment with the words, "Let it go," and let that be your signal to move forward lighter. If you feel called to walk deeper into this journey, feel free to subscribe. The next video is already waiting to meet you, and when you are ready to return to stillness and strength, we will be right here.